Win streaks collide at 135. Coming up this weekend, we have the undefeated 14-0 Umar Nurmagomedov taking on a guy who's on a 4-fight win streak. You know him as Mayhem Miller? It's Nate Maness. And for Nate Maness, this is a guy that, coming into the UFC, I guess I had a bad read on him. He's perennially an underdog. He came up to Canada. He took on big cat Jesse Arnett for the TKO title, and I thought there's no way Nate Maness wins this fight. And then he comes out, and he comes back, and he beats Jesse Arnett. And then he ends up in the UFC. Now, you look at the way that he's able to do it. He loses his title to Taylor Lapilus, which is fine. The Lapilus brothers doing the damn thing. He beats 3-2 Kellen Van Camp on the regional scene. And then he fights Johnny Munoz Jr. in the UFC, and he wins that fight. And that was almost 2 years ago. Did I think Nate Maness won that fight? No. I thought Johnny Munoz Jr. won that fight. So then he goes out there and he fights Luke Sanders. And he comes back and he beats him in that fight. And he rallies, and then he fights Tony Gravely, and he loses the first round of that fight. And in the last 5 seconds of that one, he gets dropped, he gets dazed, like he's out. And I thought, okay, this fight's gonna end between rounds.
You would make so many early stoppages as a ref.
Yeah, I don't know if it even would have been an early stoppage, but Maness comes back and then finishes Gravely, drops him, and then on the ground, he pounds him out. So for Nate Maness, he has all these comeback wins, he has all these impressive wins, and he has this win streak to fall back on. He's decent at grappling, he's good with his boxing, he understands his frame in this division. Against Umar Nurmagomedov, I don't think any of those skills work for him, and I think he loses this fight, which isn't surprising because Nurmagomedov is one of the biggest favorites you're ever going to see out there.
As he should be. And the thing about Umar is that he did have a lot of questions coming into the UFC because he was so raw by the time he came over here.
And then he had a really bad knee injury from the Morozov fight to his fight against Brian Kelleher. That's why he was out for a long time.
Exactly. He had a really bad knee injury, and a lot of people were worried about just what his level of explosiveness was going to be when he came back. I have great news for everybody. Umar Nurmagomedov is like Ronald Acuna Jr. Injuries just don't seem to bother these people, and they can come back and be 100%. Umar, this is the best thing about his game. He can be all the way in or all the way out or all the way in with his striking or his grappling. And that's just kind of the perfect fighter at that point. He has a lot of the intangibles that you look for when you think about fighters who are in the top 5, top 6, top 7 of their division. Nurmagomedov had a lot of those coming into the UFC, and he has been able to refine his style quite a bit up until this point. Now, with Maness, you said it. He is very well-rounded, and he should offer at least one thing in this fight that we haven't seen Nurmagomedov deal with yet. Maybe he can daze him at some point. Maybe he can make him tired just with some of his wrestling defense. I just think with Nurmagomedov, his kicking ability is phenomenal. His footwork is second to none in this division. He's gotten to the point now where we are going to have to see him take that big jump up in the rankings. I don't like comparing fighters to Khamzat Chimaev because really up until he fought Gilbert Burns, we had never really seen a fighter with his level of hype and skill up until that point because there was all those stats. He was outstriking his opponents, like 400 to 3 combined. It was wild. For Nurmagomedov, though, I do think we are going to have to see one of those unranked to top 6 jumps, if you will, because I don't need to see him beat up on guys who are unranked as a minus 700 favorite because I very much do expect him to win this fight.
I'm looking at Umar Nurmagomedov, and maybe the next fight is somebody I'd ride Johnny Barcelos, Victor Henry in that category, because once you start to get up near the rank, they're not going to do Frankie Edgar that bad, are they?
I think you could do Adrian Yanez.
I don't think you want to ruin a prospect.
I agree with that, but I gotta be honest. I do think Yanez could maybe deal with him a little bit on the feet. It's just, he's gonna need someone of that caliber at a certain point, because I do feel like we were both on the exact same page. Nurmagomedov should not fight a guy without a number next to their name, because he's probably gonna win by stoppage.
Yeah, so I look at this fight, and I will say, so for Nurmagomedov, trying to give him the technical breakdown, he doesn't use his hands all that much. He uses kicks like punches, which is weird to say, but in theory, it is odd. So he'll throw teep kicks. He'll throw front kicks. He'll throw question mark kicks. He'll throw spinning back kicks. He throws kicks all the damn time. And the one thing where you've got Nate Maness and he can capitalize on it is the fact that when some of those Umar Nurmagomedov question mark kicks, they are speedy, but on some of them he takes a little bit off to try and set up other shots. And in those in-betweens, Nate Maness has great straight shots down the middle with his boxing, and he has a lot of power. So that's the one spot where I can see Maness having success. But in a lot of positions, he's playing on the defensive in his fights. Now again, 3-0 in the UFC, and in 2 or 3 of those fights, he hit as an underdog, so good opportunity for him here. But Nurmagomedov open to minus 500 favorite, minus 78 right now. For Nate Maness, open plus 375, plus 524 as it stands. We're going to have a look at the Topology votes. I don't anticipate they're going to be close at all. I'm not even going to pick an over-under. 95% have Nurmagomedov. 67% by submission. For the 5% that I'm Maness, you 5% you.
47%
by decision, 44% by knockout. So, Matt, for me, I mean, I don't want to sound too one-sided. Hopefully I've given Maness his flowers because he's impressed me. I didn't expect a whole heck of a lot coming into the UFC, and he's turned out to be a pretty tidy fighter, very well-rounded, good enough takedown defense, good offensive striking, and on the defensive, he does put up a good shell against some of these guys. Against Nurmagomedov, though, a guy that throws kicks to all 3 levels with blinding speed, and also, by the way, didn't even talk about it, grappling's the strongest suit. The only guy I've seen pose Umar Nurmagomedov any threat was in his PFL showcase prospect fight against Saidiyakub Kakhramonov, where they both went at it.
He's pretty good.
And even still, Nurmagomedov looked very good in that fight, and you know how good Saidiyakub is. He's got a fight coming up very soon. And he beat Brian Kelleher, so...
That's what I mean, like, when you have wins over guys who have beaten other UFC-level fighters, like, it just tells you how good this guy was before he even made it to the UFC level. And I know coming from PFL isn't that big of a jump, but you get the idea. A lot of people only follow the UFC as an organization, but if you have been paying attention, Nurmagomedov's been expected to be this guy for a long time now. Here is the good thing, though. I do think he has improved his hands a little bit. I do agree with you. Very kick-heavy with his offense, but I do think he has started to make gains with his boxing, and that's really the last, like, infinity stone, if you will, before he's got it all figured out, because like you said, his grappling is phenomenal, even though he does like to rely on his stand-up until he really has to go to the wall for his grappling. For Nate Maness, I mean, good luck to him. Like, this is an opportunity to have, 3 massive underdog wins in a row, and that would be wild, especially to cap it off against a win, or with a win against Umar Nurmagomedov. It's just... this is a tough ask for anyone in the division.
Both of us going with the man who has no nickname but a squeaky clean record, Umar Nurmagomedov, to get the win. He's one of 2 very, very impressive undefeated prospects on this card. Co-main event spot, you have Shavkat Rakhmonov taking on Neil Magny, and in that main event, holy smokes, Arman Tsarukyan, Mateusz Gamrot, you're not going to want to miss it. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, we always say.
Let's get into it.